The Bug Books Podcast!
16 years later, I still hear his voice in my head. There is no substitute for someone that you can just pick up the phone and call.
I really want to focus on mentorship today. How do I identify somebody would be a good mentor? Is there anything I can give them in terms of value to get them to mentor me?
I think if someone is consistently, that might be somebody you might want to contact. Chances are they've gone through that same issue and they can walk you through. It's kind of like a father-son relationship.
Mentors don't like to just talk and not have there be any traction or anything done about it. Follow up. Bring effort.
If you're going to go about it saying, I want to live my own life, I want to do my own thing, I want to try this business myself, you're going to take a lot more chances to have less success than if you follow someone that's been down that path.
Just recently, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Bug Bucks Podcast. I'm your host, Allan Draper. Glad to be back with you. I'm thankful that you're taking time out of your busy day. I know you're in your trucks or you're grabbing lunch or, there's a lot of things you could be doing on and working on with your pest control companies. So thank you for this time. It's my goal and my mission to add some type of value back to what you're doing to make up for that sacrificed time. So a couple of announcements before we get started. Very cool episode today, especially for those of you that are kind of getting started in pest control or you're looking to get to the next level. We're going to be talking about a really important topic. Before we get to that, number one, make sure that you've joined Bug Bucks Plus. A lot of people haven't heard about it that are in our group, and we're starting to talk about it more. It's our online course. You get special deals with vendors, access to a lot of great trainings. A lot of Bug Bucks Plus subscribers, they use those trainings for new hires or people that are trying to get into a new role, and you're absolutely welcome to use them in that way also. So make sure you check that out, bugbucksplus.com. Second thing, I've been talking a lot about in the Bug Bucks Facebook group, my new book just released, Pack Your Lunch. It's on Amazon. Just search my name or the book title, you'll find it. Make sure to check that out. And let's get into it. So today I have Alan Farmer with me. He started Farmers Pest Control in 2009 with a simple mission: provide top quality pest control with honest service and a personal touch. It's based in Helena, Alabama. Alan has grown Farmers into one of the fastest growing and most trusted pest control companies in the area. And they're known for their innovative approach and deep knowledge of pest management. Alan is committed to protecting homes and businesses across Alabama with safe, effective solutions. So with that, welcome to the show, Alan. Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
It's not very often that I get to speak with an Alan. There's not enough Allans in the world, I feel like. And I was just telling somebody yesterday, in movies, if there's an Alan, why is it always like the nerdy guy, right? It's like it doesn't that seem to be the case? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
you're just hating on us. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's good to meet you. We were talking a little bit about Alabama and Auburn football, SEC football, before we hit the record button. I don't know when this episode's going to air, probably the next week or two, but it's August 7th and football season is just around the corner. I'm so excited. I was telling you about how I coach my sons, and we were talking about the Iron Bowl. Have you ever made it out to that? Have you ever been to an Iron Bowl?
Absolutely. It's a must do if you live in this area.
So do you, and you're an Alabama fan, so do you go
Correct.
If it's at Auburn?
I have been there, not for the Iron Bowl. I've been to an Auburn game in Auburn, but it's a tough ticket, Alan. It's something that, it's almost as much as a family vacation. Unless you're a Tide Pride member or a season ticket holder, that's a tough ticket to get. But I've always wanted to go, but it's a very hostile. Auburn's a tough place to play for Alabama. They've had their handful down there, and usually the rivalry, the home team has the upper hand. So. But I've been to Tuscaloosa during an Iron Bowl, and it's an awesome event. It's been called the greatest rivalry in college football.
I could see that. Now, how are they stacking up this year? Where is it going to be played, and who's who's the higher ranked team? We know who you think is the better team, but what's it going to look like this year? I'm curious about it.
So it's in Auburn this year, so that's got me a
wow.
little worried. Of course, everyone's hopeful right now. We're all 0-0, so
Yep.
everyone's ready to go. But Alabama has high expectations because of their past with Coach Nick Saban, and the fan base is not going to tolerate anything less than playoff or bust. And Auburn has gone through some transitions. They have the same expectation for their fan base as well. So we'll see. I think both teams are going to have a great year. I hope they do. I always want both teams to win and to go into that Iron Bowl both undefeated, and that would make for the best game.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about pest control in Alabama in the South. What's it like? What are the things that, what are the calls that you're getting? Is it typical ants, spiders, or is there something different? What's unique about pest control in Alabama and the South generally?
So I think what's unique is it's year round. We're busy every month. We do have a slight slowdown in the winter months, November to February, but we're still picking up new customers during those months. Rodents become a big issue, but you have to remember we're in a tropical environment here in Alabama. Get a lot of rain, and it's not as densely populated as other areas in the country. So, but we've got a lot of native species here, a lot of species of roaches that probably you don't deal with out west. And but I would say year round, it's ants, it's spiders, it's roaches. We have our seasons where one or the other will be worse than any other time of the year, but yeah, it's year round. So that's what makes this area of the country unique. Mosquitoes, that's a big job or a big opportunity for us. So we do that through the months of March through October. And then termites are really bad here in the South. So, on the coast, we deal with the Formosan termite, which a lot of your listeners have probably heard of that. They might not have dealt with it. Most of that is to the coastal regions of Florida, Alabama, and then, of course, California. But that's something that we have to deal with here as well.
It's interesting because, so I have markets and we're in 7 different states, and Long Island, New York to Reno, Nevada. We're in Arizona. And pest control is interesting, and I think a lot of industries are this way, where you have your goods and bads, right? Like I know that there are pest control companies making money in every single market. And so it's like, well, how do you do that? You find out what the niche is, you find out what the biggest pain points are, you price competitively, you provide a good service. Because, I'm thinking, because we're year round in Arizona, I live in Phoenix, but it's different because we don't have the moisture that you've got in the South. We don't have the fire ants as much and a lot of those things. And do you have those in Alabama?
Absolutely. I think they actually originally entered the United States through Mobile.
Actually?
The port of Mobile. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, they came in on a cargo ship back in the mid-20th century through the port of Mobile. So that's our gift to everyone else in the country.
Thank you for that. Actually, like my kids will see a spider or something, and they'll be like, "Oh, I hate spiders," and I'm like, "I love them," or mosquitoes or whatever, right? It's like, thank goodness, we have that level of problem to solve. So, well, that's incredible. There's so much we could talk about. I really want to focus on mentorship today. I know it's something that has directly impacted you and your career and your profession and your experience. Let's talk about that. What does mentorship mean to you throughout your career, and especially in those early days, those beginning days when you didn't know all the things you know now?
Yeah, it's been huge for me. So a lot of your listeners, I would say the typical pest control owner, operator, started out as a technician, was a very good technician, and then saw the light and decided to go out on their own. However, I didn't choose that path. I actually was not in the pest control business. I was in business. So I had the business mindset, but I didn't have the pest control, the technical experience. So I leaned heavily on my suppliers early on, and I was fortunate that one supplier introduced me to the then president of the National Pest Management Association, Ray Johnson. And Ray and I hit it off, and Ray agreed to spend some time with me and then agreed to become my mentor. He was located in Sevierville, Tennessee, which is about a 4.5-hour drive from where I'm at. So we were outside of each other's market, yet close enough for us to visit one another. So he was very gracious, very caring. A lot of the things that we do now, 16 years later, I still hear his voice in my head, and a lot of the lessons that he taught me. There is no substitute for someone that you can just pick up the phone and call. And as long as you develop a trusting relationship where you can just be truthful with them when, hey, I'm dealing with this problem, you don't let pride get in the way, chances are they've gone through that same issue and they can walk you through. It's kind of like a father-son relationship. And so he was instrumental in the beginning, and we were very fortunate to have him. And so he has since retired. And thankfully, by the grace of God, we've gotten to a point in our company to where now we're able to mentor those just coming into the business. So it's a true joy of mine to be able to help those that are new and have a lot of questions. But I've got 3 operators right now that I talk to probably on a weekly basis, and they share some of their deepest secrets. One of them is in my market, and but we have a trust between the two of us. They know that it's that we want to see each other succeed. But there is no substitution, Allan, for a good mentor, someone that you can reach out to at any time and just bounce things off and get some good. And listen, the best mentor doesn't have all the answers, but they're willing to get the answer for you.
That's such a good point. And I've relied on so many mentors, some in person, some, like if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the books behind me. A lot of my greatest mentors don't even know I exist, or YouTube videos or whatever. But speaking specifically about this type of one-on-one mentorship or in person, and going back to Ray Johnson, because quite a few people ask me to mentor them, and it's like, well, I don't necessarily have the bandwidth. I used to do some coaching. I no longer do coaching. But what advice do you have for somebody that's listening to this? That two main questions I have for you. Number one, how do I identify somebody that would be a good mentor? What are the qualities that I'm looking for? And number two, is there anything that I can give them or in terms of value, service, whatever, to get their attention or get them to mentor me?
So I think that, over the last several years, podcasts like yours have really brought a lot of people together. Your Facebook page is a great community, and I think that that's a good place to start. I think that from time to time, I'll see other operators ask a question, and for the most part, the audience is very graceful and answers the question without trying to belittle the person for how dare they come forward and ask a question. So I think that there are resources there. I think if someone is consistently answering your questions or, being helpful, I think they have a servant's heart. And I think that might be somebody you might want to contact through messaging, on the side. Another good tool is National Pest Management Association. They have a mentoring program. Forgive me, I believe that they've retooled that and they may have a new name for that now. Mm-hmm. But it's the same setup to where they actually have groups now where you join as a member of National Pest Management Association, and then you can go in and create a profile and become part of a group, and they will group you together with like-minded people. And I think they purposely try to make sure that no one's in the same market, which is also helpful. I think it lowers the anxiety and kind of allows the mentor and the mentoree to open up and give information otherwise they wouldn't. So I think those are a couple of good resources there. Mm-hmm. Just to get, if you don't know anyone in the business, I think that's you definitely want to find someone that is similar as far as personality so that you can communicate better. I have always wanted to reach out to mentors or people that might need my help in the geographical area that I'm in, because there are a lot of differences between my pest control company, what we do on a day-to-day basis, and maybe someone in Washington State or someone in Michigan. And so I did notice that a few years ago, we were partnered with someone through the NPMA, and this gentleman had a business in northern Kansas. And so a lot of the things that we were talking about, he and I were a month apart. I was telling him, you need to start getting ready for this. This is about, and he was like, look, that's not something that we deal with for another month, maybe 2 months, And so we weren't on the same pest calendar, if you will. And so, but when we reach out and we talk with someone who's here in the Southeast, it's almost like we're dealing with the same problems at the same time.
Yeah.
So we can have more to talk about. So those are my recommendations. As far as your second question, I think if you're fortunate and find someone with a giving heart, I think, just to see progress in your company is enough to give back to them. I think that that's the motivation. There shouldn't be anybody that's willing to mentor that's got some kind of personal agenda or some kind of personal gain in mind. They should do it because someone helped them, or maybe someone didn't help them and it could have changed their life. So I think again, finding someone with a servant-minded heart, I think that's the key.
We're going to take a quick moment to highlight one of the premier sponsors of the BugBucks Plus platform. Navigating the digital landscape of pest control marketing can be overwhelming, but with over 16 years of industry experience, Lizard Marketing knows exactly how to help you dominate your market and outshine the competition. Their team understands the unique challenges of the pest control industry and crafts high-impact SEO strategies, stunning website designs, and laser-focused Google Ads campaigns that don't just bring in leads, they convert them into loyal customers. Lizard Marketing believes that trust, transparency, and partnership are the foundation of success. They don't just offer marketing services. They build relationships with their clients, working side by side to help them achieve their business goals and grow with confidence. If you're a BugBucks member, mentioning your membership unlocks exclusive savings on their services. And if you're expanding your skills through our online educational platform, you'll gain access to even greater deals to strengthen your digital presence. DM marketing to the BugBucks Podcast Facebook page for more information, or visit lizardmarketing.co today. Mention your affiliations and claim your discounts. With Lizard Marketing's proven expertise and client-first approach, you'll adapt, evolve, and succeed. Now back to the BugBucks Podcast.
Yeah, great point. And, I was thinking about, for me, for people that I've mentored in the past and for my mentors, I think something that's really important, there's two things. Yeah, great point. And, I was thinking about, for me, for people that I've mentored in the past and for my mentors, I think something that's really important, there's two things. Once the relationship has already started, so this is fast forwarding a little bit, you already have that one-on-one, and there has already been some guidance or some counsel, some communication exchange. These are two things that I would make sure to do to continue the relationship. Number one, make sure that you're implementing, it doesn't have to be everything they say, but that you're doing something about what they're saying, right?
Right.
Everyone's circumstance is different, and everyone's risk tolerance is different. Everyone's access to resources is different. So it's not that you have to do everything they say, but mentors don't like to just talk and not have there be any traction or anything done about it. At least for me. If I'm gonna take that time, I'm gonna expect some type of difference to be made. And then along those same lines, closely related, but that's the second thing, is follow up. I don't know how many times somebody has asked me one question and disappeared forever. And that's not my duty. I'm not going to go hunt you down right as a mentor. And I do that same thing for the people that I'm interested in hearing from and learning about. So that's kind of once the relationship is already going. I think it's even helpful if there's a suggestion made or there's some direction given and you explain to them, well, would that apply if XYZ? take out a huge loan if my wife is extremely adverse to risk, right? Like providing some insight there, because that shows the mentor that the wheels are turning, that you're planning on acting on it, and that what that person's saying is actually valuable. Going back to getting a mentor in this one-on-one capacity, I think it is important that there's some amount of interest that are aligned, and it doesn't have to be an exchange of money. It doesn't have to be an exchange of any type of financial value in terms of gifts or doing some service for them or whatever. It could be as simple as, just asking them like, hey, I had somebody just yesterday, for example, Allan, reach out to me. They said, will you mentor me? I have no idea who it was. It was online. I have no idea what industry. I have no idea if they've started a business, want to start a business, what it is. And I responded, you're going to need a better pitch than that. So when we're doing this, what's that?
I said lesson number 1. You're already teaching them.
Exactly. It's like, and I think some of it comes down to, don't be entitled. We know that as business owners. We know that better than anybody. Because when we start our businesses, we think people are just going to, fight to get to us, and we're going to be beating them away with a club. And then we open our doors and realize people don't really care. They have all their things going on in their life. And it's not that they don't care in a bad way. It's just they're busy. We have to make them care. And I think there's some level of that if you want to get a mentor. This Ray Johnson guy sounds fantastic, by the way. And that's probably why he was able to achieve a lot of success in his career. But I start there. I start with, I'm going to take a small amount of time and I'm going to pitch this value. And a lot of times it's just, hey man, I'm here to give back, but I'm going to give back to somebody that is actually going to make a difference to and that's going to act on it.
Yeah, it's almost, I said earlier, it's almost like a father-son relationship. Allan, what you said earlier was, what we were continuing to say is, just act on that advice. And I think as men, we can all look back at our adolescent years, our late teens, early 20s. And if we were fortunate to have a father in our life and we were given advice, those times that we didn't follow those advice probably didn't turn out very well.
Yeah, exactly.
And now as we're older and we look back, we wish we would have taken more of that advice and implemented it, because we'd probably be a little further down the road. And so that's the same message I even give to my sons, as I say, guys, you need to understand, I'm 30 miles further down this path than you are. All I'm doing is telling you where the potholes are. And I'm telling you which left to take, which right to take. And, if you're gonna go about it saying, I want to live my own life, I want to do my own thing, I want to try this business myself, you're going to take a lot more chances to have less success than if you follow, someone that has been down that path. Now, at the same time, you have to be open and honest, because as a mentor, Allan, I couldn't give you the right answer unless I knew everything that was going on.
Exactly.
So there's that level of trust that you have to have. But yeah, just like you, I've had a situation where someone's called me and saying, hey, I was wondering if you could mentor me, if you could help me with my business. And we start talking and everything's rosy. And I know better than that. I know that they would not have picked up the phone to call me or to reach out to me unless they were having issues. So especially with finances, and so you have to, that comes in time, but just, the mentor wants to have the real information. There's nothing that you could tell me about your company that would surprise me, to be honest with you. Most of it I've gone through myself. And so especially new operators early on, I'm making recommendations for them and how to grow. And I may be saying we need to spend money here, spend money. They may not have the money. Well, they need to open up and talk about that so we can look at some other options. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Both sides have to give and take.
Yeah, that's such a funny comment. There's nothing that I could say that would surprise you or anyone. And I think it's funny because it's so true. But yet somehow my companies continue to surprise me. Just recently, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. And this doesn't have anything to do with our topic. But just recently, I had a technician, not going to disclose the state. Saturday, took care of a house, goes to his truck on the curb, covers up the two-way camera inside the van, and takes his pants down, and you can imagine what he does after that. The problem is, well, there's lots of problems, that the customer was on the second floor of their house videoing it. And so this technician's there, and it's like, I've had technicians do crazy stuff, just stuff that boggles my mind. And then yet there's always something new. And I think that's part of business. And so it's like, as we're talking about mentors, I'm going to try to make a connection here. I don't know that my mentors could have prepared me for that. And so as we're looking for mentors, and something that's important to me as a mentor is, don't look to them for every single answer. Don't look to them to connect all the dots. You bring your preparation, like this guy that's like, will you mentor me? It's like, no effort at all. Bring effort, right? The better your questions, the more help they're going to be able to give you. If you bring a financial statement and you say, hey, this is last year's P&L, this is where I am year to date, I'm having a really hard time justifying tech labor, I can't figure out what's going on here, or whatever. Provide some detail, because your experience is going to be different, and there's going to be things happen to your business that, I don't care who the mentor is, they're not going to be able to predict it, except they'll say something's going to happen to you that you can't predict. And what has been your experience with this in terms of how do you like to see that relationship go back and forth when they're asking questions? Do you like when they come prepared, or are you more of the, I like general questions and I can just kind of rattle off? Or what's your kind of philosophy and strategy when it comes to mentoring others?
So when I'm mentoring others, I like to communicate on their terms. So if they prefer email, that's great for me. If they prefer a phone call, that's great. So whatever's best for them. When I'm dealing with someone younger than I am, they like to text, in the middle of the day. They'll text me something and say, hey, I just had this issue come up. What do you think? So that's how I prefer to communicate, what's best for them. But I do love more information. I do, and I'll ask a lot of questions. Going back to your example, Allan, the first thing that came to mind is that no one could prepare you for that, for what happened. However, a good mentor could have made sure a while back that you had policies in place, that you defined what gross misconduct is, and that if you cover, or if you obstruct the cameras, they're there for a reason, a positive reason, to make sure that we're covered in the event of an accident, so that we can prove that you were paying attention. But if those are obstructed, that would be considered a fireable offense, or whatever your policies are. So yeah, the actual event that happened, that's our worst nightmare. We couldn't predict that, but at least we don't get stunned where we're just standing there. What do I do next? And so I think a great mentor prepares us for those kind of things without getting too specific, because you're right. You can't prepare someone for every scenario, but you can group it all together and you can say, hey, I hate that happened, but we've got something in place on how to handle this. So let's get it taken care of.
I mean, it's such a good point, and that's exactly what had happened. So, we had a lot of things in place because it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. We had handled not the exact same situation, but similar things. The customer called, sent us the video, and because of past experience, which you can get from a mentor, they can help you see around corners that you haven't been around, even though it's not the exact same case. So, for example, we had the cameras in there. We get a notification when it gets covered. So we knew something was going on. We have employee protocol, fired immediately for that. Because we have the protocol in place, we explain to the customer like exactly how it's going to be handled, because they're going to want some type of resolution. That being said, every time I've been asked to fire a technician, obviously, like we have some ridiculous, questions and concerns, and I've been asked to fire a technician because they cut off somebody in traffic or whatever, right? So we'd been there before in different scenarios, and so even though it happened and I couldn't have predicted it, just like with a scenario that the listener is going to have happen that a mentor couldn't have predicted because of things that were in place. It just wasn't as bad as it could have been. It was, it wasn't great, but those things help. That preparation helps. And I think one of the things that a good mentor can add the most value with or help the most with is the mentality of, because I don't know about you, Al, but so many times in my career, something has happened and I'm like, all right, well, we gave it a shot. You know, it was fun while it lasted because I thought it was over and it was like, you know, financial ruin or whatever the case was. But a good mentor, I think there's an aspect to that. Talk to me about that, about how it's not just do this, do that, but the motivation or the discipline or the mentality. Have you seen that in your mentorship experience?
Absolutely. I saw it when I was being mentored by Ray Johnson, and I see it when I'm mentoring those that I'm helping now. I like to give the reason why. So if you and I were having a conversation, Allan, and I were to say, hey, you need to make sure that you have a policy in place. You've got cameras in your truck, and that's great, and this is the reason why. And I would explain that. Obviously, I couldn't cover all scenarios, but at least instead of saying, put cameras in your truck, well, the first thing you're thinking of as a small operator is the cost, and is it necessary? But if I spend some time and I share a personal story with you, like you've just shared with me, and I promise you that there's a listener right now that's thinking about this scenario that you just brought up. Could that happen to me? It could happen to all of us. And so maybe each one of us need to go back and change a policy or put something in place to make sure that when this happens, we're able to handle it effectively. So I think that's the key as a mentor, is to be a teacher, you know, and before, you know, if you present an opportunity or a problem, or you have a question and you present that to me, what a great opportunity for me not only to answer the question, but to give you the why behind it, and maybe even back it up with something that happened to me. You know, one of the greatest pieces, I say greatest, it was one of the most memorable pieces of advice that Ray Johnson gave me was back in 2009, 2010, the misting systems became very popular, where you would order this system, you would install it. It had a huge 50-gallon drum of bifenthrin or whatever it was.
This is for mosquitoes, for the listeners.
Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. And you would set this system up in a customer's backyard, maybe around the pool, and it was on a timer, and it would just come on, and it would, you know, it was. And so I thought, wow, what, you know, because I saw the dollar amount, you know, and you're buying these systems for $1,500 and selling them for $3,000. So I thought the margins are incredible. And I ran that by Ray, and he stopped me and he said, listen, we're in the service business, not the products business. Go sell them a mosquito treatment and sell them on the benefits of the mosquito treatment in your company. Don't go sell them a system. Well, now you don't see many of those anymore.
Right.
You know, and it's almost like I remember a couple of years ago, there was this huge uproar amongst pest control operators about this subscription do-it-yourself pest control in a bag.
Yeah, like Pesty or, yeah.
Well, you don't see it very much. I mean, it used to be almost every day on social media, I was getting bombarded with advertisements. Yeah. And I don't see it as much now because people pay for service. People pay for that. You know, the rule that we always operate on is people do business with people they like. Okay, that's the reason why door-to-door is so successful, because you have an opportunity to create a relationship, get on first base, if you will, with that person at the door. And that, just think about that for just a moment, because I know you have a door-to-door background, and a lot of your listeners do. The whole purpose, the whole philosophy behind that is to develop a relationship, because that customer is signing up at the door. They have no idea what chemicals you're using. They have no idea what your technician's going to look like. They have no idea whether what you do works or not. What they do know is they like you, and they have enjoyed the conversation, and that's good enough for them. So those are lessons that I teach when I'm mentoring somebody, is focus on the emotional side of what we do. We're selling a service, whether it's pest control, whether it's lawn care, whatever it is, they're doing business with us because they like us. And if you want a good example, take a technician that's been with the company and on the same route for years, and then he opens up his own business or goes to work for a competitor, and how many of his customers follow him because they like him. And so that's some of the, so getting back to your original question, when we give advice, I like to talk about the why,
Yeah.
and the reason behind it. So I can kind of sell it to shorten that learning curve, because sometimes if you just give advice and you don't tell why, they may or may not follow your advice, but it's very important that they understand why.
We're going to take a quick moment to highlight one of the premier sponsors of the BugBucks Plus platform. Treat where they hide, treat where they eat. Cockroaches and small flies are among the most challenging pests to eliminate because they often hide in hard-to-reach areas, like drains or beneath and behind equipment. Nibor D plus IGR from Nisus is a powerful solution, combining a ready-to-use insecticide foam with an insect growth regulator. This versatile product can be sprayed on non-food surfaces or applied deep into drains and other hard-to-reach areas using the included 17-inch flexible semi-rigid straw. The foam penetrates where cockroaches and small flies live, eat, and breed, targeting these pests at the source. Make sure to stock Nibor D plus IGR from Nisus in your truck so you can tackle small fly and cockroach problems in your commercial and residential accounts. To learn more about how Nisus and their product lineup can take your company to the next level, DM the phrase Nisus, N-I-S-U-S, to the BugBucks Facebook page. Now, back to the show. I think one of the most valuable things I learned in law school was this ability to take some general rules or policies and apply them to different fact sets.
Yeah.
And so I think a really good mentor doesn't just give you specifics like, hey, this is what you should do in this scenario, but exactly like what you're saying, this is the why behind it. And the reason why that matters is because if the fact set changes, if it's not a technician in a truck, if it's a office worker, on their lunch or whatever, it's like, well, what's the reason? What are we trying to accomplish? And you can still kind of get to some answers there. As we're wrapping up these last few minutes, let's flip it. Let's talk about the reasons why some of our listeners should be mentors and what they should be doing in their capacity as mentors. Do you feel like those that have, let's say they have 5, 6, 8 years under their belt, do you feel like there's a duty for them to mentor, or is this just a personal choice for them?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that not everyone is cut out to be a mentor. In the beginning of our conversation, I said that you have to have a servant's heart, and not everyone has that, and that's okay. But I think that if someone has helped you along the way, it's with anything in life. If someone's helped you, I think there is a duty. I think there is an obligation for you to pass that on. When I came into this business, text messaging or texting a customer before we come out to do their service was not a thing. There were still companies the technicians would come in at the end of a long day and they would sit down at a cubicle and they would phone call all of their customers for the next day, and so we started texting right away. And so we were considered innovative. Okay. And so I think that, and so I say that because that was some of my early advice to some of the companies that I was helping. Okay. But I think for me personally, I feel obligated to help as many as I can. I love helping operators that are receptive, that are hungry, that want to grow, that have a vision, that know where they want to be. One of the most common questions that you get, and I see it on your Facebook, your group, the BugBucks Facebook page, is how do I know when I'm ready to hire a technician? Mm-hmm. It's one of the most common questions that you see on there. Well, there's actually a formula, and if you follow that formula, it answers your question for you. But there's a lot of other things, a lot of other indicators that you can look for. So, when you've gone through that, like you have, and you've hired your first technician, which is usually the scariest hire that you'll make, and then you've hired another and another, and it gets easier and it gets easier, and then you start seeing patterns, and you start seeing, okay, this is when we're ready, or this is what we have to do to prepare to open another route. You start gathering that information. You want to pass that on to someone else because you understand how hard and how stressful it was to make that decision. And maybe you made the decision too soon. And so I think that there is an obligation, Allan, for those of us that have been fortunate, been successful, to give back to those that are coming behind us. I really do.
I agree. One of my favorite things about the pest control industry, and I have a long list, but one of them is the brotherhood, sisterhood, the relationships that we have with each other, I think it's unmatched. Maybe I'm a little biased. I don't know. But there are some bad actors, and there are the people that think that it's a zero-sum game. If I share something with this person, it's going to somehow negatively affect me because now I lose a customer or whatever. And being a mentor, especially as you recommended early, when we first started talking about it, you're like, hey, I like mentors, same regional area. We're running into the same problems. Our customer base is concerned about the same things. There's a lot of the same microculture and things like that. And so in order to be a mentor and to be an effective one, you have to get this zero-sum game mentality out of your mind and realize, and this is coming from somebody that has put, I don't know how many thousands of hours into content and never made money from it. But I have been blessed in so many different ways, and I've found deals for acquisitions. I found other businesses. So it's not like there's a price tag on mentorship. But part of that is because I've given freely, to the chagrin, frankly, of some of the people around me. They're like, Allan, you shouldn't be, sharing the secret sauce. And I don't feel like I give too much. But that mentality is required of a mentor, where it's like, hey, I'm going to share what I know. And there's this, it is almost like a level of faith. For me, it's a level of faith where I know that the net difference is going to be positive in my life. Even if I lose a customer, or even if my competitor XYZ, the net effect is going to be, maybe I'm just happier because I helped somebody. And I think, and I don't know if it's the universe or God or whatever that's out there. I think there's something that you get back from doing that and from helping others that you can't get back from doing anything else. And my guess is you've seen something like that in your life.
Well, I have. And, I keep comparing the relationship between a mentor and the person being mentored as a father-son relationship. Allan, I'm sorry, I don't know if you have children, but if you do,
I do.
As they grow and get older, you find yourself being a better father because they're watching, and they're coming to you for advice. I've got 4 grown children, and my oldest son is now married and has a new baby, and so he's asking questions that are extremely important. Dad, should we refinance our mortgage? Should we do this? And it could be life-changing. And so I talked to my wife about it, and I say, I feel an overwhelming sense of giving the correct answer. And so what it does for me is it causes me to go back and do more research, because I tell my son the same thing that I tell those that I mentor. If you ask a question and I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know, but if you'll just hold on, I'll go get the answer for you. We'll figure this out together. So in a sense, you're helping someone, but I think you're getting better as an operator because someone's relying on your advice, and you want to make sure you're giving good advice, because give bad advice and then they fail, that hurts worse than if you failed yourself.
Man, what a great perspective. Something I've never really thought about before. And one thing that I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to be consistent with who I believe I am and who I believe I should be. And if I'm trying to help somebody grow their pest control company, and I'm trying to help them be a better leader and a better human and a better father, parent, whatever, it's going to be really tough for me to do that. Just like you're saying, if it's going to be tough for me to say that if I'm not doing it, right? It's going to be tough to give the message of do as I say, not as I do, right? So what a fantastic perspective. I appreciate that.
Well, and one last thing I'll add is what you're doing, Allan, is helping so many people. You'll never know how many people you're helping. The guests that you're having on here, they're talking about all the subject, all the things that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, when I watch your podcast, I learn something every time, and I've been in this business almost 17 years. And so I never stop learning. And so I think what you're doing is a form of mentorship to hundreds of operators out there that you'll never hear a thank you from, but just know that you're making an impact. But having that kind of servant's heart, I think is going to reap benefits. It already has, but I think it's going to reap even more benefits for you.
No, I appreciate that. And every once in a while I get really surprised by somebody that, not to offend anyone, but I didn't know who they were. I ran into somebody at Pest World 2 years ago, and he came up. He's like, "Hey, you're Allan, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "I just wanted to shake your hand because you took 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's it, to talk to me. And because of what you said 2 years ago, I started a pest control company, and now I have 2 or 3 techs or whatever it was." And it didn't matter like where he was in his business. It was that and I don't even remember what I said. And I honestly don't think my words carry that amount of weight. I just, a little bit of rosy retrospection or something, but it's like, man, I'll do this forever just for that. And I don't remember his name. I don't even remember what state he was in. We were in Hawaii. That's where the Pest World we were at. And so, you're absolutely right. Like for me, I started this during COVID because I was feeling disconnected from people, and it has been such an amazing blessing in my life and just the community. So thanks so much, Allan. This has been a pleasure. Do you have a way people can reach out to you if they have a question about mentorship or how they can become a mentor or anything like that? Any information you want to give?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is via email, and I spell Allan the correct way, so it's ALAN. So it's ALAN at farmerspestcontrol.com. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Usually it takes me less than half an hour to get back to you via email. So anyone that has questions, I would encourage you to continue to watch these podcasts or listen to these podcasts rather, to get new information that, things that you probably never even thought of. But if anyone has a question or would like some help, absolutely reach out.
What an offer. And for the listener, if you have a question and you don't reach out to Allan, that's on you now. Okay. What an incredible offer. Not a lot of people out there with that amount of experience, that amount of success, that amount of knowledge in the pest control industry. He has almost twice what I have, just for the record. And you're listening to my show. So, reach out to him. Make sure to use that. Allan, thanks for your time. I appreciate you. Wish you nothing but success in the future.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bug Bucks podcast.
This year, at least just this year, I'll be rooting for Alabama and
by subscribing and leaving
just
us
say
an
roll
honest
tide for the
5-star
audience if you
rating.
will.
All right, roll tide. I don't mind doing that. Thanks,
All right,
Allan.
thanks for what you do, Allan.
Appreciate
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bug Bucks podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us an honest 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.